The night my fiancé left me for a woman who could let him struggle 20 years less, leaving me alone on a street corner in the pouring rain. I made a mistake that was big enough to change my destiny. I got into a stranger's car. However, that mistake was the best decision I ever made in my life. The thunder outside seemed to want to tear the bustling city of Ophelia apart. Huge raindrops smashed against the glass, blurring the neon reflections and my vision. My name is Amelia, a pastry chef with a dream. Just 10 minutes ago, my life was like a soufflé I had carefully baked, full of sweetness and hope. Now, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over it, collapsing instantly, becoming damp, cold, and miserable. Amelia, don't you get it? I've had enough. My fiancé Julian, who had once sworn to love me for a lifetime, was now looking at me with a strange expression I had never seen before. The rain slid down his meticulously styled hair, making his handsome face look somewhat distorted. What I need is a partner, a woman who can help me climb the corporate ladder. Not a pastry chef who only knows how to deal with flour and butter all day. What can your tiny, ridiculous dream give me? His words were like a blade dipped in ice, stabbing fiercely into my heart. I was still holding the fondant cake that I had stayed up for 2 nights to make for his important business partner. The cake had the name of our studio on it, Sweet Reverie. How ironic. So, that real estate tycoon's daughter is your partner. I heard my own voice trembling. Julian impatiently loosened his tie, as if my very presence was suffocating him. Chloe can give me the connections, the capital, and the future that you can never provide. Amelia, be realistic. After saying that, he took out a few wet bills from his suit pocket and stuffed them into my arms, as if he were shooing away a beggar. Here's the money for the cake. From now on, we owe each other nothing. He turned and got into a black Porsche without any hesitation. The roar of the engine was instantly swallowed by the sound of the rain. Through the car window, I could see the woman named Chloe gently wiping the rain from his face with a handkerchief. I was abandoned just like that, in front of the most luxurious restaurant in downtown Ophelia, like a discarded, worn-out doll. The cake box became heavy as it got soaked by the rain, just like my heart. My phone had died because I forgot to charge it while rushing to finish the cake. I was drenched and freezing to the bone, but I couldn't feel it. The coldness in my heart had already overwhelmed everything else. In my despair, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly stopped in front of me. The window slid down silently, revealing a profile so perfect it didn't seem real. It was a man. He didn't look at me, just said flatly to the air, "Get in." His voice was deep and magnetic, with a commanding tone that allowed no argument. At that moment, my mind was a blank. Maybe I was frozen, or maybe I was numb from the pain. I didn't think about who this man was or why he had stopped. I just mechanically opened the car door, holding my ruined cake, and got in pathetically. The car was warm inside, a completely different world from the outside. The leather seats were incredibly soft, and the air was filled with a faint scent of cedarwood and leather. Only then did I dare to sneak a glance at the man beside me. He was wearing a well-tailored black suit with a low-key, luxurious Patek Philippe on his wrist. His features were deep and chiseled, with a high nose bridge and thin, firm lips. He exuded a powerful and unapproachable aura. He didn't seem to give me a second glance despite my sorry state, just focused on the rainy scene outside the window. "Thank you." I whispered my thanks, my voice still choked with sobs. He finally turned his head, and his deep, obsidian-like eyes fell on me. His gaze was so sharp, it felt like it could see through all my pretenses and misery. "I'm not running a charity," he said coldly. "The driver just stopped in the wrong place." I was stunned and lowered my head in embarrassment. "So it was just a misunderstanding. You can just drop me at the subway station ahead," I said, mortified. He didn't answer, but the car continued to move forward smoothly, with no intention of stopping. The atmosphere in the car was suffocating. I clutched the cake box nervously. Suddenly, he spoke. "Julian Winchester." He said my fiancé's name, his tone flat, but it sent a shiver down my spine. A short-sighted fool. I shot my head up and looked at him in shock. You? How do you know him? A faint, mocking smile touched his lips. The city of Ophelia isn't that big, especially for those who think they can reach the top in a single bound. His gaze fell on the cake box in my lap. Sweet Reverie. A nice name. It's a shame your partner treated it as a fantasy he could abandon at any time. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. Who was this man? How did he know everything so clearly? Fear and confusion swirled within me. Friends, if you've ever experienced betrayal or been hurt by those closest to you, please hit that like button below to let me know I'm not alone. Who are you? I mustered the courage to ask. He didn't answer directly. Instead, he picked up his phone and dialed a number. Check all of Julian Winchester's recent financial transactions with Marcus Thorne and the firewall vulnerabilities of the data company he works for. I want all the details. Marcus Thorne. I felt like I had heard that name somewhere. He was another tech giant in the city, known for his ruthless methods. And Julian, wasn't he just a project manager at an ordinary startup? After hanging up, the man turned his gaze back to me, a hint of inquiry in his eyes. You're Emilia, right? A very talented pastry chef. How did you? Your dream is to open your own pastry shop, the best in the city, he interrupted, stating a scenario I had only dared to picture in my dreams. But to support Julian's so-called career, you gave up the opportunity to study in Paris, and even took a boring part-time job as a data entry clerk, staying up until the early hours of the morning every day. My tears finally broke free. These grievances and sacrifices I had never spoken of to anyone were laid bare by a complete stranger. Don't cry. His tone was still cold, but he handed me a soft handkerchief. Tears are the weapon of the weak, and you shouldn't be weak. I took the handkerchief. It had the same cedarwood scent as him. I suddenly realized that my encounter with him might not have been a coincidence. What do you need me to do? I dried my tears and looked straight at him. I didn't know where I found the courage, but I understood that this man might be my only chance to get out of this abyss. He seemed a little surprised by my reaction, a flicker of approval in his deep eyes. My name is Damien Blackwood. He finally said his name. As for what I need you to do, he paused, his gaze becoming meaningful. I want you to make desserts for me, and only me. And at the same time, watch with your own eyes how the man who betrayed you walks step by step towards his own destruction. Damien Blackwood. The name exploded in my mind like a clap of thunder. He was the master of the Blackwood Group, a mysterious and powerful figure in Ophelia who could command the city's fate. Rumor had it that he was ruthless and had never been defeated, a top predator in the business world. And the biggest competitor of Julian's company was none other than the Blackwood Group. I understood everything in an instant. This was all a huge vortex, and I had been swept into the center of it without knowing. The man I had once loved so deeply, his betrayal concealed such a shocking secret. The story is just beginning, and a huge conspiracy is slowly coming to light. Subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and join me to see how Amelia's fate takes a dramatic turn. I agreed to Damien's terms, or rather, I had no other choice. He took me to his penthouse apartment at the top of the city. It was a world completely different from the life I had known for the past 20-something years. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was the glittering night view of the entire city of Ophelia, as if the stars were at my feet. This kitchen has a full set of top-of-the-line baking equipment, much better than what you had in your little studio, Damien said, showing me a kitchen that was comparable to a professional pastry shop's. From today on, this is your new sweet reverie. I stood there, at a loss. Everything felt like an unreal dream. Your task is simple. He took a bottle of red wine from the cabinet, poured 2 glasses, and handed one to me. Prepare afternoon tea and a late-night snack for me every day. In return, I will help you get back everything that belongs to you, and more. I took the wine glass. The cool liquid slid down my throat, calming my chaotic thoughts. Why are you helping me? He walked to the window, his back to me, watching the traffic below. Because Marcus Thorne is my enemy, and your ex-fiancé is a pawn he planted near my company. He used your part-time job to steal business secrets from the Blackwood Group. My heart sank. Julian. He hadn't just betrayed our relationship. He had been using me to commit a crime. What did he do? He sold a file containing preliminary data on our new energy project's core algorithm to Marcus. Damien turned around, a cold glint in his eyes. You were the one who entered that data. I felt the world spin and almost lost my balance. I had unknowingly become his accomplice. Don't worry, Damien seemed to see my fear and came over to support me. He's clever and covered his tracks perfectly. You won't face any legal risks. But he underestimated me. For the next few days, I lived in Damien's apartment. We had a strange contract between us. By day, I was his exclusive pastry chef, creating all sorts of desserts for him with all my heart. From classic opera cakes to innovative molecular gastronomy desserts, I poured all my passion and talent into these sweet creations. And he would always appear at 3 in the afternoon sharp to taste my work, occasionally offering a few words of feedback, like, "Not bad," or "The cream could be a little lighter." At night, he would become my mentor. He taught me how to read financial statements, analyze business cases, and even how to read people's minds through their micro-expressions. His study was filled with an ocean of books, and I, like a dry sponge, greedily absorbed this knowledge I had never been exposed to before. I gradually discovered that this cold-looking man had another side to him. He would silently hand me a glass of warm milk when I was struggling with a complex business model. When I was frustrated after a failed dessert experiment, he would awkwardly eat all the failed attempts and then say, "The taste is unique." Our relationship, amidst the aroma of desserts and the games of business, became subtle. Meanwhile, Julian began to contact me frantically. His messages went from accusatory to pleading. "Millie, where are you? Please answer my call. I was a jerk that day. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. Millie, Chloe is just a client. There's nothing between us. Come back. Let's start over. Emilia, who did you latch onto? Do you think you can have a better life without me? Dream on." Following Damien's instructions, I didn't reply to a single message. I knew Julian's panic wasn't because he had lost me, but because the person behind him was starting to put pressure on him. One afternoon, as I was in the kitchen making a chocolate mousse called Black Swan, Damien's assistant rushed in. "Mr. Blackwood, Mr. Winchester is here and insists on seeing you." Damien put down his financial magazine, a cold smile on his lips. "Let him in." I hid behind the frosted glass door of the kitchen and saw the familiar yet strange figure. Julian looked much more haggard, with a flustered expression, completely lacking the confident air he had when he abandoned me. "Mr. Blackwood," he said with a fawning smile, "I've heard so much about you. It's an honor to finally meet you." Damien swirled the wine in his glass gracefully, his eyes full of contempt. "What do you want?" It's about Mr. Marcus Thorne." Julian's voice trembled slightly. He sent me to discuss a collaboration with you. He said that if you are willing to give up the development rights to the land in the east of the city, he can guarantee that the Blackwood Group's new energy project will be safe. "Oh?" Damien raised an eyebrow. "Is he threatening me with the worthless data he bought from a piece of trash like you?" Julian's face turned deathly pale. I don't know what you're talking about." "You don't know?" Damien stood up and walked towards him step by step, his powerful aura forcing Julian to retreat. "You think you can get away with what you did? You used Emilia's trust in you to steal business secrets. Do you think you are qualified to stand here and negotiate with me?" "Emilia?" Julian laughed, as if he had heard the world's biggest joke. "Her? She knows nothing. She's just a naive fool." That sentence stung me like a needle. I pushed open the kitchen door and walked out. I was indeed naive and foolish once. I looked at him and said calmly, "But not anymore." Julian's expression was a mix of shock, anger, and a faint, imperceptible fear when he saw me. "Emilia, why are you here? You and him. That's none of your business." I cut him off coldly. Julian, I'm just here to tell you that every piece of data I entered has a secret mark that only I can understand. Do you want to know what I hid in the data you sold to Marcus? Julian's pupils contracted violently. Of course, I hadn't made any secret marks. It was just a mind game Damien had taught me. But apparently, for a man with a guilty conscience, it was more than enough. Throw him out, Damien said to the bodyguards at the door, then sat back on the sofa, as if the whole scene had been just a boring farce. Julian was still shouting my name frantically as he was dragged away. I watched his pathetic figure, feeling no sense of revenge, only a sense of relief. Well done. Damien's voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw him gazing at me. For the first time, there was an emotion in his deep eyes that I couldn't decipher. It looked like admiration and maybe tenderness. You taught me, I said. No, he shook his head. You learned it yourself. You are much stronger than you think. That night, I made him a tiramisu. In Italian, it means pick me up. Julian's appearance was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, disrupting the temporary peace of the apartment. I knew it was just the prelude to a storm. Marcus Thorne, the man pulling the strings from behind the scenes, would not give up so easily. He will resort to more despicable means, Damien said, while tasting the tiramisu I made. He will come after you. Me? I was puzzled. You are the only leverage he has against me now. Damien put down his spoon and looked at me seriously. Or so he thinks. His words warmed my heart. Did this mean that I was already special to him? Just as I was reveling in this sweet thought, a sudden misunderstanding plunged me into an ice-cold abyss. That afternoon, I was walking to the study with a freshly made passionfruit mousse, wanting to give him a surprise. The door was ajar. As I was about to push it open, I heard his cold, emotionless voice, seemingly on a phone call. Yes, the pawn is working out better than expected. Keep her emotionally invested. It's crucial for our next move. Right. Once the target is eliminated, the agreement terminates automatically. Make sure to clean up afterward. I don't want any loose ends. Pawn? Emotionally invested. Agreement terminates. These words were like sharp icicles stabbing into my heart. My hands holding the mousse began to tremble uncontrollably. The plate crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. The golden mousse and white cream splattered pathetically on the ground, just like my budding feelings, which had been ruthlessly crushed. Damien swung the door open. Seeing my pale face and the mess on the floor, he frowned. What's wrong? I looked at him. His handsome face now filled with a calculating expression. I couldn't understand. So, all his tenderness, all his guidance, had been just an act. What he needed was not an exclusive pastry chef, but a useful pawn who was emotionally invested. How was he any different from Julian using me? Nothing. I took a step back, avoiding the hand he reached out to steady me, my voice as cold as ice. My hand slipped. I'm sorry for messing up your floor. I used the formal your. Damien's dark eyes narrowed. He had clearly noticed my coldness. Amelia, I'm tired. I'm going to my room to rest. I turned and ran to my room before he could finish, slamming the door shut. From that day on, the invisible wall between us grew taller and thicker. I no longer made any creative desserts for him, just provided technically perfect but soulless afternoon tea and late-night snacks, as per the agreement. I stopped going to his study and asking him for advice. I turned myself into a true pastry chef, bound only by contract, and Damien seemed to have reverted to his initial coldness. He would just silently finish what I made and then leave. The occasional warmth that had once filled the apartment vanished, replaced by a suffocating silence. I thought I could be indifferent, but when I stood in the kitchen, looking at the city lights, feeling like I was on a gorgeous, deserted island, tears streamed down my face. Our Cold War lasted for a whole week. It felt like a year to me. Finally, one late night, I was restlessly baking cookies in the kitchen, trying to numb myself with a repetitive motion, when Damien appeared. He was wearing a black silk robe, leaning against the doorframe, just watching me quietly. What are you doing? His voice was particularly hoarse in the silent night. Fulfilling the agreement, I replied, without looking up. Preparing your late-night snack. Fulfilling the agreement, he scoffed, walked over, and grabbed my wrist as I was mixing the dough. Amelia, what is wrong with you? If you want to leave, you can leave at any time. I, Damien Blackwood, am not so desperate as to force a woman to stay. His words hurt me. Leave? Isn't that what you want? Once the target is eliminated, the agreement will terminate automatically, right? I finally couldn't hold it in anymore and yelled out what I had heard that day. Was this pawn very useful? Did it give you a great sense of accomplishment? Damien was stunned. He clearly hadn't expected me to say that. The anger on his face slowly faded, replaced by a look of realization and a hint of regret. You heard that? He asked. Yes, I heard it loud and clear. I pulled my hand away, tears streaming down my face. So stop acting, Damien Blackwood. I'm sick of being used like a fool. A fool? He suddenly took a step forward, trapping me between the counter and himself, his hands on either side of my body. You're right. I do have a fool. His face was so close to mine that I could smell the faint scent of alcohol and familiar cedarwood on him. And that fool is me, he growled, his deep eyes swirling with complex emotions I couldn't understand. You think the pawn I was talking about was you? Amelia, when I want to deal with someone, I never need to use an innocent woman. I was taken aback by his intensity. The pawn I mentioned on the phone was a shell company. I had my CFO register overseas, he explained word by word. I had it buy up large quantities of the stocks Marcus was shorting, to give him the illusion that our capital chain was broken. The emotional investment I talked about was for my traders to act emotionally, to put on a show of panic selling for him. As for the agreement terminating, that company was to be dissolved immediately after Marcus fell, to erase all traces. I was completely dumbfounded. So, that was it? Then, why? Why didn't I tell you? He gave a self-deprecating laugh. Because it was a top-level business secret. One more person knowing means one more risk, and also because I'm used to handling everything myself. I never thought it would hurt you. It was the first time he had ever spoken to me in an almost apologetic tone. Looking at the regret and sincerity in his eyes, the iceberg in my heart melted instantly. So, all this time, I had misunderstood him. I'm sorry. I lowered my head, my voice barely a whisper. He gently lifted my chin with his finger, forcing me to look into his eyes. I'm the one who should be sorry. His voice became unusually gentle. I admit I had business considerations when I first approached you. But Amelia, I don't know when it started, but watching you make desserts and analyzing cases with you has become the thing I look forward to most in my life. He paused, then went to his study and came back with a folder, handing it to me. I opened it curiously. Inside was a complete business plan for a pastry shop called Amelia's Sweet Reverie. From the location, decoration style, and brand design to the 3-year development plan, everything was there, even more perfect than what I had envisioned myself. I was going to give this to you as a gift after everything was over, he said. I, Damien Blackwood, have never been so devoted to anyone in my life. My tears flowed freely again, but this time they were tears of joy. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him. That kiss dispelled all the misunderstandings and insecurities, leaving only a room full of sweetness. After the misunderstanding was cleared up, our relationship progressed by leaps and bounds. We prepared for the upcoming tech night together, and I once again became the bait to lure the snake out of its hole. On a Friday night, as planned, I snuck out of the apartment and went to a jazz bar that Julian and I used to frequent. I sat at the bar, ordered an angel's kiss, and waited quietly. Sure enough, Julian appeared in less than half an hour. He looked even more haggard than the last time, his eyes bloodshot. Millie, he sat down next to me, his voice hoarse. I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Let's leave this place, go somewhere no one knows us, and start over. I looked at him, finding the man before me incredibly strange and ridiculous. Start over? With the money you got from betraying others? His face changed. He grabbed my wrist. His grip so tight it hurt. You know everything. Did Damien Blackwood tell you? Don't believe him. He's using you. A man like him would never fall for an ordinary girl like you. Let go of me. I tried to struggle free. Millie, listen to me. Mr. Thorne said that if you help, he can give us a lot of money. Enough for us to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. He became more and more agitated. You just have to put this thing into Damien's computer. He took a small USB drive from his pocket and pressed it into my hand. I looked at the USB drive, a chill running down my spine. This was the man I had once loved. For money, he would not hesitate to push me into the abyss. Just then, the lights in the bar suddenly dimmed, and the music stopped. Several men in black suits surrounded us from different corners. The leader was a man with an aquiline nose and a sinister look in his eyes. Mr. Winchester, it seems your persuasive skills are not very good. The man sneered, then turned his gaze to me. Miss Amelia, my boss, Mr. Marcus Thorne, would like to invite you for a cup of tea. Julian was terrified and quickly pushed me towards them. It has nothing to do with me. It's her. She's the one who won't cooperate. I looked at his cowardly face, and the last shred of affection I had for him vanished. The man in black approached me. I instinctively stepped back and bumped into a solid chest. The familiar scent of cedarwood enveloped me. My woman, since when does Marcus Thorne get to invite her for tea? Damien's voice was not loud, but it carried a weight that could silence the entire room. I didn't know when he had appeared, but he was standing behind me, like an insurmountable mountain. The aquiline-nosed man's face changed colors, but he still said stubbornly, Mr. Blackwood, this is a private matter between us and Miss Amelia. Private matter? Damien chuckled softly, pulling me to his side, his arm naturally wrapping around my waist. He announced to everyone, from the moment she stepped into my car, all her business is my business. Wow, what a power move! Friends, are you excited watching this? Drop Damien is so cool in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The story is about to get even more intense. You don't want to miss it. The man with the aquiline nose eventually left with his men in defeat. The crowd in the bar erupted in whispers, their eyes on us filled with curiosity and awe. As for Julian, he had long since collapsed to the ground in fear. Damien didn't even spare him a glance. He just took my hand and led me out of that place. Back in the car, I realized my palms were sweaty. Damien held my hand tightly, warming it with his own. You knew they would come? I asked. I won't let you be in any danger, he answered evasively, but his answer was more reassuring than any explanation. The USB drive. I opened my palm, where the small device lay quietly, a very nice gift in return. Damien took the USB drive, his eyes becoming unfathomable. That night, he didn't go back to his room. Instead, he stayed on the sofa outside my guest room door. He said, I'll watch over you tonight. I lay in bed, listening to his steady breathing outside the door, and slept soundly all night. The annual Ophelia Tech Night was the grandest gala in the city, attended by all the socialites and tycoons. This year's host was Marcus Thorne's company. He sent Damien an invitation, specifically requesting that he bring me along. Everyone knew it was a trap. Are you sure you want to go? I asked, adjusting Damien's bow tie, a little worried. Of course. He took my hand and placed a gentle kiss on the back of it. The show is just about to begin. He had prepared a starry blue evening gown for me, adorned with tiny diamonds that sparkled like the Milky Way under the lights. When I walked out of the room in the gown, I clearly saw the astonishment in Damien's eyes. Beautiful, he praised sincerely. We walked into the ballroom, arm in arm, becoming the center of attention. Marcus Thorne immediately came over with Chloe, the real estate tycoon's daughter. Julian followed behind them like a lackey. Damien, my old friend, welcome. Marcus smiled like an old fox, his eyes shamelessly sizing me up. Mr. Thorne. Damien's smile was flawless. Your galas are always so creative. Beneath the simple greetings, an undercurrent of tension flowed. Halfway through the gala, Marcus invited Damien to his private lounge to discuss something. Damien gave me a reassuring look and went with him. I knew the final showdown had arrived. I took a glass of champagne and went to a quiet balcony. Chloe soon followed, looking me up and down with jealousy and contempt. "Don't be so smug," she said. "Do you really think Damien Blackwood is genuinely interested in you? You're just a pawn he's using to deal with Mr. Thorne. When this is all over, you'll be thrown away like a used rag." I smiled and swirled the champagne in my glass. "Really? That's still better than some people who have to rely on their family's name to stay with a man who doesn't even love them." Chloe's face turned red with anger. Just as she was about to lash out, Julian rushed over and pulled me into a corner. "Amelia, run!" he whispered, his expression filled with unprecedented panic. "Marcus is crazy. He doesn't just want Blackwood's business secrets. He wants to kill Damien." My heart skipped a beat. "He has men waiting in the lounge," Julian stammered. "He also got a hold of some documents about your studio's hygiene license being problematic. He said if you don't cooperate, he'll make sure you can never open a pastry shop in your life." "Millie, you have to go. Don't worry about me." At that moment, I didn't know if his words were out of a remnant of conscience or fear of being implicated. But it didn't matter anymore. I shook off his hand and ran towards the lounge. When I pushed open the heavy door of the lounge, the scene inside made me gasp. Two bodyguard-like men were attacking Damien from both sides, while Marcus sat leisurely on the sofa, playing with a silver pistol. "Damien!" I cried out. Everyone's attention turned to me, seizing the moment of distraction. Damien swiftly took down the two bodyguards. His movements were as fast as lightning, elegant and deadly. Marcus didn't seem surprised. He clapped his hands. "Impressive, Damien Blackwood. Too bad. No matter how fast you are, can you outrun a bullet?" He pointed the gun at Damien. "You think you can win like this?" Damien adjusted his slightly disheveled collar, showing no fear. "Of course," Marcus laughed smugly. "Once you're dead, the Blackwood group will be in chaos. Then the entire city of Ophelia will be mine. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. I love the USB drive you sent. All your core data is on my server now." "Is that so?" Damien also smiled, his smile filled with mockery. "Do you really think I would give a USB drive with a virus on it to a woman who knows nothing?" Marcus' face changed. "The USB drive Amelia gave to Julian," Damien said slowly, "contained a big gift from me to you, an untraceable source program. The moment you plugged it into your server, it automatically copied all your criminal evidence and then formatted your entire database." Marcus's expression froze. He frantically took out his phone, obviously trying to contact his tech team. "Don't waste your energy," Damien said. "The police should be at your company by now. Your fraudulent accounts, your malicious business competition, your money laundering evidence. Everything is crystal clear." "Impossible!" Marcus roared. He had completely lost his mind and turned the gun on me. "If I can't have it, then I'll destroy what you care about most. I'll have her die with you." Just as he was about to pull the trigger, the lounge door was kicked open again, and police officers in riot gear rushed in. "Freeze! Drop your weapon!" Marcus Thorne's business empire collapsed overnight. After the dust settled, Damien and I stood on the balcony side by side. The evening breeze caressed my gown. "It's all over," I said. "No." He turned and looked at me tenderly. "Our story has just begun." He leaned down and gave me a gentle, passionate kiss. Under the glittering night sky of Ophelia, I heard him say, "Amelia, being my woman isn't a temporary contract, but a lifelong promise." Marcus and Julian paid the price for their actions. Julian was sentenced to prison for his involvement in corporate crimes. I heard that Chloe's family broke off the engagement the moment he got into trouble to distance themselves. And with Damien's help, I finally achieved my dream. My pastry shop, Sweet Reverie, opened on the most prosperous commercial street in Ophelia. On the opening day, Damien sent a gift He established a pastry chef training fund in my name to support young people with dreams but without opportunities just like me. My pastry shop quickly became a sensation in the city, the new hotspot. But I insisted on personally making a dessert for only one customer each day. And that customer was always Damien Blackwood. 6 months later, on a sunny afternoon, Damien got down on one knee in sweet reverie in front of all the customers and proposed to me. The diamond on the ring he presented was cut in the shape of the first dessert I designed for him, Starlight. Emilia. He held my hand, his eyes filled with a tenderness and devotion I had never seen before. For the past 30 years, I have lived a life of business calculations and games. It wasn't until I met you that I realized the best taste in life is sweetness. Will you let me be your eternal customer and taste your sweetness for a lifetime? With tears in my eyes, I nodded. 2 years later, we had adorable twins, a boy named Noah and a girl named Leah. Damien became a complete doting father. The decisive emperor in the business world would come home and gently tell Snow White stories to his daughter and clumsily change his son's diapers. He cut back on a lot of his work to spend more time with me and the children. We traveled the world together, eating crepes under the Eiffel Tower in Paris and embracing under the sunset in the Aegean Sea. I went from being an abandoned, pathetic pastry chef to the enviable Mrs. Blackwood, a successful entrepreneur. My life was turned upside down by that wrong decision on that rainy night. Sometimes I wonder if I hadn't gotten into Damien's car that night, what would my life be like now? Perhaps I would still be struggling to make a living, still heartbroken over that unworthy man. But I have no regrets, because I know that all encounters are destined. That worst night of my life led to the best version of us. Thank you all for your company and support. Our story ends here for now, but Emilia and Damien's happy life continues. If you enjoy this story, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. I'll be back with more amazing original stories in the future. May every one of you kind souls find your own rainbow after the storm. See you in the next story.